quite the chunk of timber, isn't it? Hardwoods. Hardwood in the floodplain. It's going to green up in here. Elk are in here somewhere. They come through here quite often. Wolves, grizzly bears. There'll be a grizzly bear around here now. Somewhere, for sure. I might see one today. But we'll keep this ball rolling. Got a lot to share. Always lots to share. Just going to touch on one topic that, I think I mentioned before. Hopefully the video got to all you before this. Isn't it funny how people react and how people act and what they do with various scenarios? I think I mentioned earlier, if you could find out why somebody would want me in this channel to shut up, which would mean all you have to shut up, I'm a firm believer that if you found out why, then that would possibly add a good handful of missing pieces to your puzzle as to what's really going on. Would it not? I don't mention that, and I don't mention that because I'm lashing out at anybody. I mention that as that's actual fact. The fact is, no matter what topic you're into, where you are, what you're doing, if there is an individual or group that wants you silenced, that means they have something to lose if the people around you or the public or whoever it is involved heard something they're not supposed to hear, right? So that being said, that's why I urge all of you, if you ever get the chance, if you possibly come across somebody who possibly wants me or the people of this particular channel and others wants us to shut up, and if you can find out why, sincerely why, you're going to find a missing piece to your puzzle, a big one in a real fast way. And it's funny, when people hear of, and one thing I wanted to mention was, it's funny how we go through life. Like, so if we hear about somebody who's doing something real nasty to somebody, where more often than not, it seems, the bad guy's always protected, even by the good guys, because nobody says anything. Isn't it weird? Well, it's just to not say anything, just stay out of it. And from what I've learned from my past, I had a lot of bad people brought into my life, and there was a lot of not saying anything going on, and that cost me a lot. And that's why I learned early, yes, you have to fight, and no, you're not supposed to keep your mouth shut. I learned that by trial and error, all right? It's just so you understand about where I'm going with this. Now, but as an example, you always hear about that couple down the road, that couple that everybody knows, but meanwhile behind the scenes, either the husband's sleeping with so-and-so and she doesn't know, or the wife's sleeping with so she doesn't know, and nobody says anything, even their friends. Isn't that odd? Because, heaven forbid, if you gave the victim of that couple a fair chance at making a decision for the rest of their life, or not. This is a small example. Or you hear about that, as an example, that lawyer in Squamish that punches his wife in the face with closed fist, and a handful of people know about it, but nobody says anything. Or as another example, currently in Vancouver, BC, the city, there's an RCMP officer who has been drugging and raping people, including fellow female officers, and that's public knowledge now, but our mainstream news is keeping it hush-hush. You can't say anything out loud, right? I don't get it. We got a guy with a badge and a gun in our city of Vancouver. He has been caught red-handed drugging and raping a fellow female police officer. God only knows what else that dark, evil son of a bitch has done before he got exposed with that final case. That's all full-on open knowledge now, but mainstream's not making it that available. And the lady in question, the female cop, she's suing the piss out of everybody involved, and good for her. But what I'm getting at is this is just various examples of people keeping their mouths shut and inadvertently, indirectly, but directly protecting the bad guys. I don't get it. Where does that pertain to where I'm going with this? Well, with this topic, there's a bunch of bad people that they've been covered up. Nobody says anything out loud. I don't know why. I say it out loud. I don't give a shit. I think the bad people in any aspect of life, they need to be spoke of loudly and publicly and instantly. Period. No hiding them. They don't get a free pass. I don't know why the bad guys always seem to get a free pass. Well, I don't support that. So, that being said, here's an example. There's been a lot of people, when it comes to this topic, do a lot of dirty, nasty things to each other. I don't know why. I honestly do not know why. That's why I urge all you to ask questions. Why? You know, as an example, I have some friends of mine who are very, very intelligent, very diligent. Their knowledge on the Sasquatch Bigfoot topic is ridiculous. And they told me directly they submitted encounters to the BFO, and just as an experiment to see if those encounters would be published correctly without being changed, or if they would be published at all. And sure enough, and they did it from different IP addresses, and sure enough, those encounters, a bunch of them were published, but the details, there's a lot of very important details were intentionally left out and left away and out of your eyeballs so you would not hear them or see them. Why is that? Right? I'm asking an honest question. Why is that? Why would they do that? I don't know why. Do you know why? Maybe we should ask them. Here's another example. There's a woman in the United Kingdom. She apparently had a Sasquatch encounter years ago. She formed a Sasquatch group, as they normally do. Social media, website, on and on. And this unfortunate woman, living all by herself, rural, she has encounters with these beings on her property. All right? This is all first-hand information. And this is a while, I think it's over a year ago. And she contacts me with the episode, and she also adds in that this particular Sasquatch Bigfoot organization in the United Kingdom was terrorizing her. Demeaning her, writing her name, terrorizing her. They even sent a man to her home who terrorized the shit out of her at nighttime by jiggling all the doors. First he came to the door in person and met her. He was trying to run a bunch of questions by her. She was feeling alarmed. That night, the same guy came and rattled the shit out of her doors and her windows and everything in the middle of the night and scared the absolute crap out of her. She's emailing me and telling me about this. I'm like, go to the cops now. Go to the police now. Open the file. Go to the cops. She goes to the cops. I went directly to the page of this woman in the United Kingdom and told her flat out, look out, I'm coming for your ass and I'm bringing an army of good people. You're done. Right? As we should. We're here to protect. She came back with some minor, whatever. I barely even read half of her words. Acting like the innocent victim, right? And then it turns out the woman in question who was being terrorized contacted the police. Turns out this was a police officer and he lost his job, and she showed me the direct emails from the police department. Also showed me emails from this particular woman who was forced into giving her some kind of a apology. But anyway, and that turned out to have a good ending. But there's no way I was going to keep my mouth shut about that. There's no way I wasn't going to approach that person to say something and protect this poor woman. Right? Just like all of us should do those things. I know I'm a bit of a rant right now, but whatever, I'm going for it. What else? I do know of a fact that Bobby Short was harassed and terrorized by some lead members of the BF Blanco. That's a fact. Terrorized and bullied and attacked and demeaned and character assassination. You name it, they did it to her. Non-stop. I wasn't present for that, but I do know for a fact I've had all the witnesses, first-time witnesses fill me in. Why did they do that? Why? Don't you wonder why? I wonder why. I wonder why all these people do these things to each other. Currently, I know for a fact that a couple members of a certain reality TV show, they have a person out of Las Vegas, I believe, going way out of his way, basically commissioned him to assault me and a few other prominent names when it comes to this topic. Why? I don't know why. Why would they do that? Do you know why? I don't know why. Be handy to find out why, wouldn't it? But I'm just going on as examples of people doing all these nasty things to each other when it comes to this topic, and I don't know why. But it should be spoken of out loud. Every single person in the world deserves to hear the honest truth and the facts, and they can make decisions for themselves later on, right? Now I've been speaking with Mike Patterson in Ontario. Ontario Sasquatch, Ontario. Sorry, Mike. I've only had 2 coffees this morning. It's one or the other. Now, Mike has basically minded his own business, and in what he is into and what he has been doing with his own time on private property is basically he is probably 3 or 4 lifetimes ahead of many people who are interested in the same topic and doing the same things he's doing. Lifetimes ahead. I know he is not in a competition. He does this for his personal gain and knowledge, and he shares his knowledge with whoever is interested in hearing it. But in the meantime, and we talk often, he's a great guy. I trust him without one half of a question. I trust him absolutely in what he does and what he shared. Legit. If I had to put my name and put everything I had against it, he's legit as legit comes. But the weird thing is there's a guy from the BF Blanco who has done some, and others, does absolutely sleazy, shitty, dirty things to Mike, and where he's been studying these beings, whatever they are, whoever they are that he's come across. He's been slandered, ridiculed, and stalked for years since he started putting this out publicly. He caught some of these BFO pricks red-handed. He's got them on camera. He has his vehicle and his license plate. He knows who he is. Isn't that amazing? Allegedly, well, I'll save that for a second. But anyways, this guy's had an obsession with him. The guy can't go public with stating what he's witnessed because that would incriminate him and he'd be charged and put through the court system. So this guy's been on this property, absolutely terrorized the shit out of Mike. And the big question is why? Why do these people do this? I don't get it. Do you know why? Does anybody out there know why? Because it's not too cool, right? I don't know. I don't know who can answer why. Anybody know a guy by the name of Todd Prescott? Maybe the guy named Todd Prescott could possibly tell us the 4.5 million views per month on my channel. Maybe Todd Prescott could possibly answer the question to why people do these dirty, filthy, sleazy, disgusting things to innocent, hardworking, good, honest people. Do you know why, Todd? I'd like you to answer why, Todd. Maybe you could answer and send in maybe you could even comment in the comment section below if you're watching this video right now, and you could share with the world why people from the BF Blanco do absolute, disgusting, heinous, sleazy things to these good, hardworking, honest people. There's a lot of us that are curious. Why? Why? Right? I'm curious why. But anyway, I thought I'd pass that along to everybody, that there is a lot of dark, disgusting, dirty, shit-eating things going on with many of these people, individuals who are in the Bigfoot Sasquatch community, and many people want others to shut up. Many people do dirty, disgusting things to innocent people to possibly take away the credibility, rub their name into the mud, make sure nobody listens to them, try to shut them up, try to make them go away. Now, my big question again is why? I'm going to ask why 10 million billion times. I'll tell you what. Why? 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 Why is this going on? And I'm a 100% firm believer, if all of you brave, take no shit individuals start asking people openly and loudly, why? Why are you doing this? And if you can find out the honest answer, you're going to find some missing pieces to your puzzle and our puzzle. I'll guarantee it. Is that for a little morning rant? Anyway, let's get on with sharing some voices, people that need to be heard. That's what we're here for. We're putting puzzles together. And another thing too is, you know, everybody, I need to encourage everyone and make everyone aware that your puzzle is your puzzle. Your lifetime ride is yours and yours only. And if you do manage to find all the missing pieces to your puzzle and you want to share with all of us, please feel free. I encourage you to. Share your puzzle once it's done, if you get it done. Because I'm gonna. Dear Steve, first let me say I appreciate what you're doing. I've been hesitant to tell my story, but this morning you said you'd like to hear more from people who had been taken and returned. So here it goes. Let me preface this by saying that I didn't remember this incident until I was in my early 30s. And it came back to me over a period of about a week in bits and pieces. I think it was triggered by my brother, who came to live with us then. After a few days of little snippets of memories popping into my head out of nowhere, I finally talked to him about it. He told me it was all too real. Although he didn't know what happened to me until then, he put 2 and 2 together and shared his side of the story, which made me know I wasn't crazy or imagining things. I grew up on a ranch near the Wind River Mountains in Wyoming. We heated our house with wood, so every year after the crops were in, before we had to start irrigating, we would spend about 2 weeks in the mountains getting wood. We always went to the same place that we called Bear Trap on the Big Sandy River. It was fairly remote because it was a long, difficult drive into the place. The only other people I ever saw there besides family were sheep, herders, and on horseback. I should also add that I love the outdoors, and we spend most of our weekends either on the desert or on the mountain. I love them both, but prefer the desert because I am much more comfortable there. I don't sleep well, if at all, in the mountains, and I'm always on edge. For as long as I can remember, I've not been able to go creek fishing without someone else nearby, preferably in sight. Now I know why. I think I was about 5 years old. My brother was 12. We had been camping for about a week, and Mom and Dad went down the mountain for something and left my brother and I up there. That sounds crazy nowadays. I remember standing there watching them drive off next to my brother, who had a .22 rifle propped on his shoulder. After they left, I went to play at my favorite spot by the creek, which is out of sight from camp, but probably only 200 yards away. I don't know what my brother was doing, probably sitting at camp, sneaking a beer, and acting like a grown-up. Anyway, this is what I remember. Being carried by something with long, thin fur under its arm, kind of like a football. There were at least 3 other beings alongside us, traveling upright and on all fours intermittently and screaming and yelling at the one who had me. It was like they were telling it to put me down and it was wrong to take me. They seemed to be in a panic. I don't remember smelling anything. It almost feels like I was watching it happen to someone else. I don't recall any emotions, like a passive observer. That doesn't make sense because I know I had been terrified. I didn't like the loud chaotic noises though. I don't know how far we went, but finally we came to a place that was an overhang or a cave. The dirt in front of it had been swept clean. The ones running along beside us had reddish-brown fur and long arms and seemed like they were like teenager age and a little younger. They continued to squawk and yell in protest until a much larger one came into view, and then they all went silent and out of sight. For some reason, I had the impression she was the matriarch of the bunch. She grunted something at the one holding me, and I was put down on the ground, and it left too. I didn't feel like she was mean or meant to hurt me, just very sad. I wonder if maybe she had lost her own child and snatched me out of grief. The older one looked at me kindly and had the soothing presence. Her fur was darker, almost black, and thinner, and more wiry. I don't remember if she made any sounds or not, but feel like she communicated to me that I was safe and I shouldn't worry. She took me by the hand and led me to a bedlight thing made out of pine boughs, grass, and soft bark, which was right at the inside edge of the cave or overhang. She indicated that I should sit there and was very gentle with me. She disappeared for a short time and came back with some water with plants in it and had me drink it and then gently laid me on the mat. The next thing I remember, I was waking up, first smelling a damp, mossy dirt smell and then feeling the grass tickling my nose. I was very confused as to why I had taken a nap right there. I was about 20 feet away from where I'd been playing. I walked into the camp and my brother grabbed me and hugged me and then yelled at me for hiding on him. In retrospect, he was frantic. After I told my brother my side of the story, he told me that he had been looking for me for hours and had checked the area where I'd been playing several times. He also told me that Grandpa and Dad were aware that a family of these beings lived around there, but they had never bothered us. He and my dad used to leave them salt and sugar on a log every year, and they took it every time. I was unable to talk to them, my dad and my grandpa, about it after. I remember because they both died when I was young. I never told my mom about it either. I did hear my grandpa tell my dad about hearing something come up the creek while he was fishing once, and it was no bear. But they stopped talking about it when they realized I was listening. That's my story. Don't read this part online, all right? All right. Okay. Okay, I'm not going to use your name. Thank you very much for that email. That's a hell of a story, for sure. But obviously, you're not the first one either, right? Albert Ostman, right? Albert Ostman came out of the woods found by loggers, and basically, as the crow flies, right over there. What, 1, 2, 3, either 2 or 3 drains right behind me. And he publicly came out, what was it, 1920s? about being, or whenever it was, 20, it was back, obviously I don't remember the date, but he came forward publicly and shared with the world about this hairy being that basically threw him over his shoulder in a sack, in a sleeping bag with all his gear, and packed him away for miles up in the mountains, right over here. There's been no shortage of experiences shared with people, of people being taken and carried or packed away or whatever. By these things, I've had military guys say they were dragged in their sleeping bags while maneuvers just in Alberta. The list goes on. Well, that was one hell of an incredible tale, for sure. Thank God you were returned, right? It's amazing. And then, quick note for all of you who may possibly complain. I've heard a few people say, I guess the only thing they can come up with to say bad about me and what am I doing is, he believes everything. Steve just believes everything. He'll read anything. Well, Steve's not the judge. Steve's not the one that dictates to all of you what you will hear or what you will not hear. Steve's not that guy. Neither is any other person in the world. So, again, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, take from it what you will. Or leave it. It's up to you. It's your puzzle. It's your ride. Okay? Alright, so before I go, I'm going to share one more from here. And I got to get going. I got to go up the river and change in my waders, grab my cameras, see if I can't possibly get some steelhead in video. I'm not sure what the color of the water is yet, but what do we got? This is in regards to Edgar, who is a nuclear physicist that encountered the half-invisible Bigfoot in Wales and had experienced what is known as missing time. I am without a doubt certain that he is what is known as an abductee. How do I know this? Well, so am I. That's how. What struck me was that a few years ago, a support group I belonged to had a conference, and after it, we camped out on Thompson Lake in Maine for a week. On the last day after majority of the people left, which was about 30 at its max, dwindled down to about half a dozen. The following encounter I'm about to relate was shared to me by everyone who witnessed it, as I had left campsite only an hour prior, but did feel something was up the previous night. The witnesses were all, for the most part, in high-profile jobs. They were a biologist, a TSA supervisor, a medical professional, an IT associate in UK Parliament, and an unemployed hippie on disability. As you might agree, an interesting mix, and all of them abductees. Here's the encounter. On the Sunday morning, the last day of gathering, several of the remaining campers gathered by the fire pit to lament that the event was over and they were getting ready to say their goodbyes and such. 30 to 40 feet away, in full daylight, a tree about 3 to 4 inches around or 40 or so feet tall began to move by an unseen force. It was not wind. It was not anything like a squirrel or an animal. This drew the attention of the group, who then approached the tree, which was down a small ravine next to a site where a tiny brook drained into the lake. They all could clearly see the tree and its motion, slowly moving at first, then more and more quickly until it bent over fully across the small brook in an arc. Several moments after it made contact with the other side of the brook, another tree began to move. And this time, breathing and vocalizations were heard by all. The biologist classified the sounds as primate, but not a single thing was seen by anyone, only feet away in clear morning daylight. Nothing. Several other trees or branches began to move, and even what was described as invisible hands crushing the leaves on the branches as they described more than one set of motion in different trees, which all happened at the same time. The IT guy from Parliament stepped a few more feet into the gully and yelled something to the effect of, "Who are you?" At which point a large branch, 20 feet above him, spun up and down as if something heavy and unseen jumped off the branch, and the leaves and the dirt 5 feet in front of him flew up as if something massive landed with a loud and resounding thump, followed by huffing. It is at this point he ran back to the group and did not venture down the gully again. The movement in the trees and noise continued for about an hour before the movements were seen going from tree to tree across the brook and out of sight. There are pictures and affidavit/documented report taken from each individual and are able to be made available to you should you need or wish to have them. Now my point is that the missing time is a classic abduction tale and the missing clothing and items put on wrong is another. I know that one firsthand. His phone texting is also something that keyed me. With some phones, when you enter another country, your phone will ping a tower. And, if I was to guess, once he came back, the data was retained by the phone that picked up the signals and populated the text once he came back. Now, I know that you're aware of Bigfoot and UFOs are seen together on many occasions. I offer my group's support to him. If he feels the need to learn more or share with us, or just listen to those who have shared a similar encounter as he. It should be noted that when it comes to abductees, anything electronic will go bonkers on us, especially phones. Sound familiar? Thank you for what you do. I love that you allow folks to have a non-judgmental platform to share on. I will share a pic taken in my area in what is known to the world over as the Bridgewater Triangle. It was taken, so I'm told, in Taunton, Mass. a couple of years ago, and I hope that it helps others who watch your channel in my area, or any other, to come forward to show that these beings are not just seen only in the woods of the Pacific Northwest, but can be found 40 miles outside of Boston, along the south coast, and even on Cape Cod. Your ever humble servant, Matt Moniz. Moniz, M-O-N-I-Z. And a phone number. Thanks, Matt. I absolutely appreciate that email and support for Edgar. And I'm sure Edgar's listening right now, or his son. And if this does sound appetizing to get a hold of you in your group, I'm sure he'll let me know. All right? But there's a lot of people that have been trying to reach out to the physicist. And no, I'm not going to pass you Edgar's or anybody's contact information. That would be absolutely irresponsible of me to do that with any stranger online, right? Obvious reasons. But if Edgar's probably listening, and I will be talking to him shortly, and if he has interest in your group, I'm sure he'll let me know. We'll make that happen, and he will make that happen, not me. But again, there you go again, everybody. Take from that what you will. All right? You be the judge. You decide if something from any of these emails from people all over the world that I'm sharing with you, you decide for yourself if there's something of substance, something that's helpful in any of these emails that I'm sharing with you. You do that on your own. It's up to you. Nobody is going to dictate or decide what you get to hear or not. All right? That's been the biggest key mistake we've all made in the past with numerous topics, is giving somebody that position in our life. All right? It's wrong. And it all started in grade 1 when when one person was presented to us at the head of a classroom who we didn't know where they got their information from, we don't know how educated they are, we don't even know if we can trust them, and they were given the task of drilling shit into our heads and us to repeat those things and remember those things that are drilled into our heads, or we were told we would, quote, fail. Right? It's wrong. It's wrong. We're all putting our puzzle together each, and we're all here to learn on our own and take from everything what we will, and you will be presented with every single thing that I come across. I will present to you, word for word, non-stop, until your puzzle's complete and mine. All right? Be safe.